with Spirit of Matter, here finishing up with the synodic cycles. And this one is Mars and Neptune. So Mars is applying to square Neptune right now, which is another one that I should have warned you about. I did talk about Mars square Neptune is kind of attempting to take a great leap forward, and kind of like a fated loss or fated, disillusionment. But this is a stepping stone to Mars sextile in Neptune from Capricorn, which is the point of exaltation of Mars, the sign of exaltation of Mars. So just before we'll get to the entire Mars-Neptune synodic cycle of 2024, and this is why I named this episode 2024 as a fuga, because in astrology we have cycles within cycles, and the synodic cycles are the relation between planets that really describe the music that we're getting into. And if you think about going through the year and the astral weather as a fuga, you have all kinds of voices and tonalities, and some of them are more harmonious than others. Okay? So the ascendant is first degree Leo, with the sun in the sixth house in 3 degrees Capricorn. Ruler of the sun is Saturn here in the 8th house, 2 degrees Pisces, beginning to conjunct Fomalhaut. Okay. Moon is in the 11th house, 17 degrees Gemini. The ruler of the moon, which is also the ruler of the hour, is Mercury, and it's retrograde here in the 5th house in Sagittarius. And Venus is in the 4th house in Scorpio, 24 degrees Scorpio, releasing from her opposition to Uranus and exactly trining Neptune, sextile in Pluto, okay, applying to sextile Pluto, and later will be applying to square Saturn, okay? So Venus is the ruler of the evening. It's going from a moon day to a Venus evening. And the midheaven is in 22 degrees Aries. There's just something here with the 22 degrees Mars in Sagittarius in the 5th. So all along the 22nd. So hopefully this conversation will be remedial of that. Now, right now, Mars is applying to square Neptune from Sagittarius, okay? The hard aspects between Mars and Neptune. Neptune is about lack of boundaries, something going viral. It can also be addiction. But again, this is a transit here. Mars is to do with action, taking action, assertion, iron, okay, the metal, iron. So also weapons and wars, unfortunately, but also ambition, and it is also a financial planet, okay? The business that you make, your entrepreneurship is Mars, okay? Real estate is Mars as well. The hard aspects, it is basically meaning you're invested in something in a way that dilutes. For example, okay, you want to take a great move forward, okay, you dream with action in these aspects, always in these aspects you dream with action, and it's leading to a certain disillusionment loss, and there is a crisis of longing where if you have been holding on your actions, on taking action, right now you find yourself doing it anyway in the worst timing possible. Okay? So this can mean so many things. It can mean so many things. But definitely it is a crisis where you have longed for something to do with both ethereal, dreamlike, spiritual, faraway, infinite, creative, and real, active, physical, okay? And the square kind of makes an action that dilutes into space. Okay? You're taking a great leap forward, but there is loss, or there is, and it's not even overestimation, because here is very much stemming from your desire to break free. Mars in Sagittarius wants to break free. Okay? And you take one giant step. It's almost like with your actions, you are calling for help from the universe to save you from a 22 catch, okay? It's 22 second degree, a 22 catch that you are in. It could be financially. It can be in terms of your relationships. It could be in terms of the real estate market, okay? You could say, I'm taking, well, not loan maybe, but I am making the first payment on this land when you know you don't have the money. I'm dreaming with action. I'm manifesting. I'm like, fuck it. I want to have, if it is real estate, an apartment, okay? Or it can be pertaining to a business, an entrepreneurship, or something of that sort, okay? And it's an action that dilutes into space, and is stemming from longing and despair for how long it has been taken for you to manifest, okay? For the frustrations. And so this can show up as some sort of an addiction pattern, but underlying this pattern is a desire to break free from stagnation, to act on something, even if you don't know what the right action is, to just do something about this. Okay? And so you need to understand that this is like a soul crying out for sweet release from stagnation. Is crying to be free. And is crying with action. Okay, you take an action to liberate yourself from a 22 catch, a 22 cycle. How long can I be constrained in these financial constraints? I'm going to take an action. And this action dilutes into space, okay? And it's not that it stems from helplessness, okay? It stems from a desire, a longing that you, or from a very spiritual place, can even decide, okay? Especially with the Jupiter sign, you can decide, make a conscious decision to do this, to freaking do this, because enough is enough, okay? This is more the crisis here. And the crisis is that you don't have the physical energy or the fiscal energy to go with this, but you are doing this anyway, okay? This is why Neptune-Mars hard aspects can bring almost a rebellious type of purchases. I'm going to pay my first installment on this plot of land, but you don't have the money, okay? At its worst, it can lead to kind of like faking, because Neptune is about manifesting by pretense, okay? I'm dreaming into being. Mars is action. I'm dreaming with action, okay? This can go many directions, and the amount of desperation and frustration that's in there is very real. Okay, remember the next sign is going to be Capricorn, and we'll get right through to Capricorn. Now, the ruler of Mars from this and the ruler of Neptune is retrograde, so this is Jupiter here in the 10th house in Taurus, okay, with its ruler Venus in detriment in Scorpio. So there's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of frustration, and it's not even a coping mechanism, okay? The soul is crying out for release from trauma, binding, curses, anything like this. And it's taking an action, even dilutes in the air, and it's very much like the final straw, okay, that gets somebody to go balloonies, but they go balloonies by acting on it, because when Mars is frustrated, it decides to manifest this dream in action, okay? Enough is enough. I want a piece of land, and here I am signing a check, but it has no cover. Guess what? I'm signing that check with no cover because this is the only way I have available for me. Okay? That's Mars Neptune. It dilutes into space, but it's going to take action. Okay? This is why this aspect is also a very difficult aspect, yes, because there's a great despair, longing, helplessness, but also decisiveness, okay? And this is usually the last straw, okay? It's the last straw because the situation is about to change. And now let's take a look at the crisis, because Mars manifests with crisis here. And we want to take a look at the closing sextile. So we are still in 2020. Let's go back to 2023. No, 2024 already. We will have the sextile. And we go from Mars. Oh, we go from Neptune is the easiest. And then any aspect. So the sextile to Mars is going to happen on, the sextile to Neptune is going to happen on February 8th, 2024. Okay? And the moon is going to go over this. It's happening from 25 degrees Capricorn, while Neptune is 25 degrees Pisces. And Mars is releasing from a square to Uranus and applying to conjunct the 0-degree Pluto in Aquarius. Yeah, the moon is going over this. This is a point where Mars is very strong. Mars is in Capricorn, okay? Saturn, the ruler, is direct in Pisces, 7 degrees Pisces, okay? Jupiter is already direct as well, the ruler of Saturn and Neptune, in Taurus, 8 degrees Taurus. So Jupiter is sextile in Saturn, and Mars is sextile in Neptune. And the moon from Capricorn going over these. Venus is in Capricorn, 19 degrees And she is squaring, yes, she is squaring Uranus. Okay? So this is where, if right now Venus is trining Neptune while Mars is squaring it, during the sextile, the closing sextile, Mars is going to be extremely practical and it's going to be more successful in what it's trying to achieve. Okay, so our actions are going to be filled with meaning and purpose. We are going to be literally walking our talk and living our dream. This is the meaning of Mars in exaltation sextile Neptune. We are living our dreams. We are not talking about our dreams. We are not dreaming about our dreams. We are walking in the path of our dreams while we are living our dreams. That's the power, okay? And then you get the square to Uranus. It means that we are walking that dream, and that dream includes rebelliousness, and that dream includes explosive investing, both by the merit of Mars releasing from the square to Uranus and Venus square applying to square Uranus, okay? We are exploding our investments, okay? We are explosive with this one. And we understand that we're taking action, and this action is explosive, is rebellious, and is very practical. It's a practical rebellion, okay? Again, Venus square Uranus, you're not going to be sleeping very much, okay? You're not going to be saving very much, okay? Uranus also rules criminal activity, also Neptune. But this time, if you have to be, how shall I see it, a Capricornian, okay, practical, realistic about how to move forward to get ahead in life, you will do so. Okay? This is explosive action. And this is the closing sextile with Neptune. Being practical right now means having radical values, and your radical values are practical. This is what it means, okay? Venus in Capricorn is very practical. Uranus is radical, okay? Being radical is practical, especially when it comes to women issues, feminism, sisterhood, Venus, but also, okay, assertion of the self and getting ahead in life financially. Saturn rules homeless people, okay? So homeless people can do criminal activity, okay? To make a purchase of a home, of a land. They can do criminal activity. They can be radically explosive, okay? Homeless women now can do something that is extreme, but is incredibly practical and can even turn successful. Again, we are the other voice of the fuga, which is the Venus-Uranus. Okay, not even talking about the Venus-Neptune. Right now, Venus is trining Neptune. Talking about the Venus-Uranus. This is the other voice of the fuga. And that voice means that the values are changing in general. And whatever Venus rules, which is sisterhood, women, arts, sensuality, is radically changing, okay? This is just ongoing fuga, okay? It's constantly going through changes. And now there is a crisis between the practicality of Capricorn and the desire to get ahead in society or status, and the rebellious streak of Uranus and Taurus. And that can mean that there's a crisis where you take some activity that perhaps even considered criminal, that may take various forms, from hacking to Pisces is about taking another identity. And I think about the movie Working Girl when I think about this combination. And the movie Working Girl is from 1980s, 84, 86. And it tells the story of a young businesswoman. And she tries to get a job and to contribute in her workplace. So she gets sexually harassed, and she does something like the sugar-free lemonade that I did when I was in academia. By the way, only after I did that, I looked at this movie again. And she basically exposes her bosses. Okay? Then, of course, she's fired. Then she goes to work for a woman. She thinks, oh my God, it's going to be great. But this woman plagiarizes her ideas. She finds out that her boss is about to plagiarize her idea. And then her boss is on a vacation. She gets wounded in the feet. And this woman, what happens is she doesn't know she's going to meet, but she's going to make it happen. Okay, so she goes and finds the person that she wanted to turn to, and she pretends to be her boss. Okay, alongside, she also goes to a certain meeting, and she basically meets the person who was partnering up with the boss romantically as well, and they fall in love. But, so she's taken basically both the partner and the job, and eventually her boss comes back. She tries to expose her after she closed the deal, and she's devastated. But then she stops them at the elevator and proves her own ideas were hers, and tells the person that she made business with. She said, if I told you I was the secretary, would you bother to see me? Okay. A lot of people, men and women, are going to do similar things right now with this explosive arbitrage, okay? With this explosive mergers and acquisitions, okay? The people who did not have access to the plate, they can be homeless people, they can be the lone artist, they can be women who were hurt by the medical system. They can be people who are considered crazy, okay, because this is Saturn in Pisces here. These type of people, the miserere of life, they're going to dream, but they're going to understand the only shot I have at doing something with myself before I am gone is to do something completely and utterly crazy. Okay? And they go for it. So this is where Mars is dreaming with action. And now there's something here that is successful. It's creating a conscious crisis. And now there's something mythical about the action of Mars. Mars in Capricorn, it wants to get ahead in life, okay? It wants to get to the pinnacle of somewhere, okay? And that's important because Mars in Sag wants to liberate something. Mars in Capricorn wants to get ahead in life. It wants to succeed, but with a meaning and purpose. And now it's acting in a practical way that's going to ensure it. But this practical way is also downright criminal. And this is important. Yes? But it's the type of criminal where, because there would not be another way, if Mars did not pretend to be someone else, pretense, identity theft, all of these things are going to happen, okay? But the underlying reasoning of this, okay, is to end the cycle of loss, of addiction, of homelessness, of being a victim. It's putting an end to being a victim. Mars is ending something. Pisces is a state of helplessness, chronic victimhood. Okay, Mars and Capricorn understands what was undermining the whole time, how the structures internally and externally were undermining these Mars. Okay, if we go back to the movie Working Girl, then at first the woman thought, oh, well, these men on the top, they sexually harass me, I will go to work for a woman. And this woman plagiarizes her, okay? So she has to change her thinking. It doesn't matter what's between the legs of the person. It's the matter is, are they a person? Are they not a person? And if I have to pretend to be somebody else, if I have to commit a crime of identity theft to protect my identity and my creative rights, I'll do it. Enough is enough. And she gets on top by doing that. Okay? And so this is where Venus is in Capricorn to back it up. Enough is enough. You're going to kick me off, I don't know, welfare. You're going to kick me off this help. You're going to kick me. To you, I'm just going to be a beggar in the street. You're going to say, oh, why don't you get a job then? Then I'm going to do one giant leap and put another face, another mask, another identity, whatever, whoever I have to be. I'm going to show to all of you what I can do. And when you ask me, but oh my God, would you talk to me if you knew I was Palestinian, Israeli, a woman, the secretary, a homeless, diagnosed with PTSD, diagnosed with schizophrenia, with whatever, from an enemy country, an immigrant, okay, an ex-con. Would you look at my face if you knew my identity? And I take another identity, and I do what I came here to do, which is for the benefit, okay? And so this is where things get practically where they, for some people, where they should be. For some people, you have to pretend you're someone else to get to where you need to get, okay? I need to be a maverick about doing so, because Pisces, okay, Saturn is in Pisces. Pisces is about deception, that you have to be okay with that deception, because those deceptions, it's karmic time, okay? So, and you're gonna have the genius to do that, because all of these guys are going to conjunct Pluto, are going to be transformed, okay? So this is a moment in time. Again, it's a part of a cycle. There are ebbs and flows to these cycles. Now let's take a look at the next one. And the next one is, of course, the conjunction. This is the closing and opening conjunction, April 29, 2024, on 28 degrees Pisces, with Uranus direct on the 22nd degree and Jupiter on the 23rd conjunct and releasing from the conjunction with Uranus. Okay. There's a sextile to Pluto. Okay. So Mars opens the next synodic cycle with the conjunction to Neptune on the 28th degree of Pisces, with the moon applying to sextile it as it releases. Okay. there is an applying sextile by both Uranus and Jupiter. And we do have a 22nd degree Uranus in the background with the ruler of Mars, Neptune, and Saturn releasing from a conjunction to that. So this is where Mars has to surrender something to win something. Okay? And the conjunction is a hard aspect, okay, but it's a new beginning as well. There is an end and a new beginning to this cycle. And Uranus now is on the 22nd. Jupiter is releasing from Uranus in Venus sign. Venus is in Aries, so Venus is detriment. Detriment of fallen. I think she's fallen in Aries. 29, she's on the anaretic degree of Aries, which is Mars sign. Okay, so there is the interesting reception, indirect reception. It's not exactly reception because it's indirectly. Okay, ruler of Mars is in Venus sign, Venus is in Mars sign. Okay, and Mars is in Jupiter sign, which is in Venus sign. So we're going to have a new beginning to do with dissolving and incarnating ideas, philosophies, to do with women in war, to do with creative rights, Mars's rights, and Venus creation, creative, to do with relationships as well, the boundaries in relationships, philosophy around when do we break up, when do we stay. Definitely the world of virtual reality can play a part in warfare. Okay, it's already happening. To name a few. Okay, and there is something that is lethal in the background. Now we go to the opening sextile. Here we look for Mars. And the opening sextile with Mars is in July 2024. On the anaretic degree with Pisces in Pisces, Neptune being retrograde, and Mars in Taurus, releasing from a conjunction with Uranus. Uranus is on Algol. Mars is sextile in the Sun as well, and trining Pluto. So this is where the opening sextile from Taurus on the anaretic degree. So we have new decisions regarding values and assets and land. And Venus, the ruler, is in 11 degrees Leo. Okay, again, quite a potent degree that can be to do with suicide as well. But here is likely where some borders are being drawn about land and about maritime borders and land borders. And so there is some sort of a correspondence between maritime borders and land borders that are being drawn by leaders But the sun here is opposing a retrograde Pluto in Aquarius, sun in 28 degrees Cancer, moon in Capricorn is at its detriment. So, and Jupiter in 12 degrees Gemini, sextiling Venus. Okay? So there is an attempt to redraw the world map here. But the air, okay, and space are posing a challenge. Okay, this is where you agree on the maritime borders, you agree on the land borders, but you ask yourself, what about the security if something comes from the air borders, and the air borders pose a threat for some reason. They interfere with the decisions of the leaders regarding these two type of borders. Okay. On a financial level, there is an agreement between liquid assets and fixed assets. Okay. Real estate on land, buying land, and liquidity. Okay, there's some sort of agreement here. But perhaps even a group like Anonymous can interfere. Saturn is retrograde in 19 degrees Pisces, so again, can be also to do with people who are hurt, let's say from COVID, from Pfizer, Moderna, from homelessness. Okay, so there can be an uprising of these people, or through the maritime sphere, basically posing a threat, posing or a hidden threat. They're posing a hidden threat here in some way, and the threat is coming from the air, okay, as well as the water. So we have agreements, but there is also a hidden threat coming from the air and the water, or also from space. Okay. Both, like, there's both Neptune and Saturn and Pluto are retrograde. So this is a phase where people who have been farthest from the plate are taking their power back in some way, shape, or form. And it's a hidden, it's not just rebellion, but it's a hidden, something hidden going on here. Uranus is also on Algol, is trining that Pluto, and Mars is conjuncting Sedna. So it's very unpredictable what and how, but there are antithetical forces to the agreeing forces. Okay, and this is where we should ask ourselves, on the account of who are we making peace? Okay, and we should keep in mind everything, the silenced researchers, the silenced academic people, the silenced medically, academically trained people, the silenced astrology trained people. Okay, because Aquarius is also astrology. The silenced hackers, the silenced people who are farthest from the plate. So neurodivergent, homeless people, even, why am I saying biracial? Oh, Saturn is also ethnicity and bloodline in the sense of ancestry and skin color. And Pisces is of dual nature, so biracial. Oh, this is very interesting. And Jupiter in Gemini, biracial people, certain biracial people pose a certain threat. Okay, people with dual loyalties, but also children, and yes, whatever is Aquarius representing here, is posing a threat to the decisions that the leaders are trying to make. So it seems like they are trying to make some sort of agreement, some sort of a peace agreement, a severing ties, divorce even, but there is something hidden. On the account of whom? Whom are they sparing when they are making these decisions? Okay, because there is a hidden threat posed here. Mercury, the ruler of Jupiter, is in 25 degrees Leo, squaring Uranus. Okay, so there's something to do also perhaps with children and how children are treated by the royalty, or even children royalty, judges. Just something in the background. Inviting Procyon and inviting Algol for this time can be useful. The square, the opening square. So the opening square is happening on September 3rd, 2024. Okay? Again, we're always looking at the context as well. And the day after, Mars will be squaring, Moon will be squaring Mars. This is happening on the new moon, around the new moon at the time. So it's a new beginning, and there is a crisis. Neptune is retrograde on 28 degrees Pisces. Mars is in Gemini, and we are revisiting the Mars square Neptune from Gemini. Again, so you might want to think about what happened the last time we had the Mars square Gemini, Mars square Neptune from Gemini. Mercury is going to be in 23 degrees Leo, applying to square a retrograde Uranus on 27 degrees Taurus. Jupiter is going to be 19 degrees Gemini, also slowly applying to square Neptune. We're talking about the new moon and the bisextile between Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. Pluto is on the anaretic degree of Capricorn, is in action. Lilith is going to be conjuncting Ketu, which is also in the background. So, the square. What do we have a disagreement about? Okay, and again, we talk about squares as taking decisive action to break free or to establish some sort of self-assertion in the face of the inevitable, the waves, the forces of nature. It can be a bit of fighting windmills aspect. Okay, this is the time where you are fighting windmills. Your actions are dissolving into thin air, and it's a crisis situation. Again, money is being spent here, maybe even on technology, and there can be a civic unrest. It's a point of civic unrest as well, because what I said when Mars was in Gemini squaring Neptune, what did I say? I said this is the closest we are going to have to Uranus in Gemini without having Uranus actually in Gemini. Okay, why? Because Mars is linear and Neptune is dissolution of a linear pattern. And then Mars is insisting on walking in this linear pattern while dissolving. And Neptune is about surrendering something, okay? This is the closest we have to the combination of surrender and crisis point, and that is Uranus, okay? Uranus has a silly rock, and it's unpredictable, okay? With Mars, there is a fated action that dissolves into space. I'm doing it anyway. Mars in Gemini can be civil unrest. It can be actions of children as well, acts of speech. We may have child prodigies. Child labor can be discussed here with the sun, the new moon, sun ruling Mercury. So something to do with children, civil unrest, all those things can happen. Disputes in the media, the wars on information, fake accounts can boom at this time as well. And it reaches, it kind of reaches a crisis point where you're doing something anyway. Okay, and again, don't expect to keep money in your pocket. Don't expect to be intentional with your, like, intent goes a long way with Neptune, but to be overly intentional with your spending, you are invested in something. Your soul is now crying out for protecting your inner child. Hey, I should be allowed to make mistakes, is the spirit of this. I should be allowed to make mistakes. I should be allowed to try something, because Gemini is about trying one thing, then trying another, then going here, then going there. I should be allowed to have diverse interests. I should be allowed to change my mind. Okay? And the action is fierce around these topics. I should be allowed to have a childhood. I should be allowed to speak a certain language. Yes, if, for example, you are afraid to speak, let's say, Arabic in the Western world, or afraid to speak Hebrew, or afraid to speak your own language, or from your own accent, then this can be a situation where you speak it anyway. Mars, Gemini is a combination of harsh words. Okay, and that can be quite a crisis. You say something, it can also be like you post an episode and it's deleted. Okay, then you get even more frustrated because you're fighting windmills right now. Until you change strategy, where Mars is going to go and be trining Neptune from Cancer, okay, until you change strategy, you are fighting windmills, and you are fighting them using very harsh, very impulsive words. Okay, and you might completely change your mind after you say these harsh, impulsive words, and they can be aimed toward leaders. Here's a bit of very haste, okay, in this situation. So the annual square to Neptune. And now let's go to the trine. The trine is happening on October 28, 2024. And it's happening with both Mercury and the moon on the 22nd degree and conjuncting the vertex. So it's not for nothing that the 22nd degree showed up. Definitely you want to look at the 22nd lunar mansion, fixed star Al-Qaid, Algol, to protect from assassination, protect from physical harm. And it's a good time to kind of calling them in spiritually for this protection, for me, for my viewers, and to kind of safeguard. Okay, and you might want to use when the ascendant or the midheaven touch on these points, which is a trick I took from Christopher Warnock. So that may be. You can do it your own way. Mars is going to be trining Neptune from Cancer in 27 degrees with Neptune retrograde. Okay, all the while separating Basically, Mercury is applying to trine Mars and Neptune. Okay, but Mars is opposing Pluto, so this is also the annual Mars opposing Pluto. All the while this happens, and sextiling a retrograde Uranus on Algol. So absolutely, Algol is in place to work with on this day, and around this day, as well as Procyon. So this is where Mars is fallen in Cancer. Okay, Cancer, Mars is action. The sign tells us what is the motive. Mars is acting out of emotional upheaval. Okay, Mars is trying to regulate his emotion with action. Now, it's not impossible. You can walk inside in the water. Okay, might be cautious that salt won't enter your eyes, but other than that, you can walk in the water. Not on water, that we can't do, but we know Jesus, but in the water you can do. So that can be very benefic, okay, for this transit. And of course, you want to be cautious. With this one, there is some sort of a spiritual camaraderie between Mars and Neptune. I predict that this camaraderie is around the sense of helplessness and more perhaps being validated for how lost you feel. Okay, it's kind of like being with your fears, with your desperation, with your losses, and having someone present there. That's more like it, because Mars is fallen in Cancer. Okay, so taking action here is coming from a place of frustration, and to calm frustration is. Think about the action of walking inside water. It can be frustrating, but the actual athletics of walking or being physically active inside water, please, I mean, I mean actual water. Like, this is not a Mars Cancer, is like not the transit, unless you know how to work with this energy, because you have it natally. It's like, it's not about that type of action. But more like genuinely, like dancing in the pool, or running in the pool, or running alongside the shore. Now, you want to be cautious because you can slip, you don't want to be where you could drown, because this is also Neptune. You don't want that to be the resolution of your emotions. But definitely, when you're actually walking in water or running in water, being physically active, the resistance of the water gives you a more athletic challenge, and Mars likes challenges, and so the supposed frustration is being used to make you more fit. Okay, that can be quite benefic activity to do, and that can support here this Neptune, or you could have this ethereal experiences, or you could suddenly see something, because Cancer is about the eyes. Okay, seeing something. The moon is in 22nd degrees Virgo, so opposing Neptune. So yeah, you want to be quite cautious. Okay, you want to practice. The 22nd degree is going to be quite prominent in these synodic cycles, and Mercury too is in 22 degrees Scorpio, opposing Uranus. Okay, so there's a lot of to kill and be killed going around, And again, what are the antidotes? First, knowing that if it's not in your books, you probably are not likely to put it there. Okay, it's just choose you to calm down a little bit about this, because there's a lot going on. Okay, if it's not in your books, if it's not in your natal chart, if it's not these indications, we're probably not going to be drawing that in. Okay. Um, and the other thing is that we talk about the 22nd degree. There are deities you could turn to. Okay, you could turn to Algol, you can turn to Al-Qaid, you can turn to even 22nd lunar mansion, and you can turn to Procyon as well. Okay, so that is places that, working both with Procyon and with the anti-assassination planets, are going to yield both changing whatever internal patterns you have, that you, for your security, you are doing things that are actually not benefic, alongside understanding that there are beings and deities that you can address these issues with. Okay, so Procyon is about sweetening. Okay, if thinking about in Hebrew we say hamtekat dinim. Okay, sweetening of the verdict. Okay, that's Procyon. And Al-Qaid is protection from assassination, while Algol is literally protecting your voice when you speak up about atrocities in spirit and in matter. Okay, this is very, very powerful protection that allows you to set boundaries. So this is the trine. And then the next cycle, because Neptune is so slow moving and Mars is quite slow too, so the next we're going to already have in 2025. Okay, so this we're basically getting a fraction of the cycle. Yes, we're getting a part of the closing cycle and a part of the reopening until the trine in 2024. And then we move to 2025. We're going to have the trine, and kind of move forward with that, where, yes, you're going to have the trine twice because this Neptune goes direct. And yeah, and the opposition on August 10, 2025. So there is a lot to go here. Yes, there's a lot to go here. I'm not going to do the full cycle, but definitely kind of like the fraction of the cycle. When we will have the conjunction, we'll know more about the beginning or what's actually going on there. And again, whenever we have hard aspects, expect to take massive action. Okay, to take massive action, and there can be disillusionment. This is more like if you think about the baby that tries to walk. Okay, then it's more like enough of crawling. I'm getting up and I'm walking, and then you walk 2 steps and poof, you're on the floor. Okay, but this is to prepare you. Okay, this is the Mars Neptunes where you consciously take the giant leap that you know is going to, not fully come into fruition, so that you will be able to take a more calculated step next. Okay, so you're thinking about an investment. It's kind of like, I need to do that, even if it's the worst time of doing that, I still need to do that. Then this is what will happen. And so the next step, you will be a more calculated step. But this is because the soul has been longing for something and perhaps has been waiting for the right time, and the right time never came by. So you're doing it anyway, even in the worst time possible. And even still, okay, you understand that something in your soul was crying out to change. Because Mars is taking actions, creating changes, transformation. And it's basically surrendering the timing that you make the change, or is surrendering a little bit of how you make the change as well. Okay, because it's like, enough is enough, I'm doing this, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not this, and you kind of fall flat. But the next step is the sextile or the trine. Okay, so you fall flat, but you're going to revisit that from a better vantage point and act on it. Okay, if Mars in Gemini square Neptune is civil unrest, Mars in Cancer is the people taking action. Oh, we have been said to be divided? By who? We take in action as people. We manifest with action as people. There is waters, no problem. We will walk in the water and we will get fit. Okay, this is also the power of Mars in Cancer. It takes frustration and it walks in the water. And it's going to get fit. It's going to regulate its emotions by physical activity and using the water resistance. Okay? Mars in Cancer is also the army of the people, armed people. And this is armed people with the trine to Neptune worldwide. Neptune is faraway lands. Okay? So, and there's the issue of religion as well here, because Neptune, is ruled by Jupiter. Pisces ruled by Jupiter. So there is a philosophy that is worldwide. So it's kind of like it can manifest both as worldwide free Palestine as well, okay? Because it's nationality and then worldwide activity. Okay, it's kind of like the dissonance between the national, but it is also worldwide communism, worldwide mothers, okay, army of mothers to release their children from health-related organizations, okay, is also a possibility here. And definitely it can be translated as both the nationalistic international, okay, whichever flag you put there, it's kind of Nazi, but it can also be translated as mothers worldwide, an army of mothers to release their kidnapped children, is very much, because there are kidnapped children worldwide. If the mothers unite and carry arms, which can happen with this one, yes? It's not the mothers who are like, oh, let my people, don't take my sons to the wars. Like, your children are already kidnapped somewhere. Then, this is a different type of mother. It's the armed mother, okay? And she armed with whatever she, with any means necessary. She'll bring her children back, okay? And the power of mothers to move mountains worldwide can also be a possibility. We want to pay attention to these things, okay? It doesn't have to be some group of, nationalistic worldwide that is, or But yes, moon is nourishment as well, so it can be the desire for nourishment. Homes first. For addiction, people dealing with addiction, homes first is absolutely another combination. Homes first worldwide. Okay, not the homeless people per se, but more like awareness for home, for housing, and war. Okay, the people fighting for their homes worldwide, and that can to do with this such an armed people going viral, fighting for their homes. It's not their motherland, but their home. Okay, the combination of Cancer and Pisces creates is basically caring for your loved ones in nuclear family as do you care for entire humanity, and caring for entire humanity like you care for your nuclear family. Okay, it is a very potent mix, and when you put the gun there, it's becoming quite a big deal. Okay, although Mars is fallen in Cancer, if it uses the resistance of water, it becomes fit. Okay, and yeah, this is what I have to say about kind of like this fraction of a synodic cycle. The more harmonious aspects will be from the water signs, so and from the earth signs, because Neptune is still in Pisces, and Mars is not at home in either Taurus or Cancer, but it is better in Scorpio and Capricorn. So we've had Mars in Scorpio, now we're heading towards the Mars in Capricorn. Yes, Mars in Sagittarius is also potent, right? If Mars is about asserting your freedom, and Sagittarius is about asserting your freedom or believing in freedom and expansion, and they work together well, but they can be acting way too big. While in Capricorn, we have the contraction. Because Saturn is contraction, Jupiter is expansion. So it's a necessary expansion to go to the contraction phase. Unfortunately, this also means on the mundane level, it's the tactic of conquering more land so that we can settle on something like our desired objective. Okay, if you talk about Israel Palestine, then it can be one or the other trying to get way more land so that they can settle for land later and return land without losing land. Okay, it's happening both ways. Ukraine, Russia, similar thing, and whatever is happening in Congo is beyond bizarre that the world is not speaking about. It's almost 6 million people dead. Okay, if we talk about Holocaust, this is 6 million people genocided. This is not something that the world can ignore. And the implications for the world are as horrific as the Holocaust. Okay, what we're not paying attention to, if not for Twitter, I would not even know this. Nobody reports anything about this. We're talking about, I don't know the number, I think above 1 million people. It's not more. Yes, way more. Kurdi people, okay, also going through genocide. It's not a bad thing that the world is waking up to understand that killing masses of people is not something we want to happen, not on a daily basis and not at all. And it feels like the world is a little bit in the baby steps of awakening to this. Okay, because Congo is unheard of, and nobody pays attention, and we should also be tending to those atrocities, okay, as well, especially when we are nearing the age where the power will be with the people who are farthest from the plate. At first people will try to hide them, but it's 2 decades. But towards the end of the second decade, it's going to be like right now with Pluto Capricorn. Okay, we're going to have an exposure at the beginning, an exposure towards the end, and people will have to understand what they can from the beginning, and more things will be exposed by the end of it. The world will not be the same. We will talk about the technological jump, the this, the that. All of these technologies exist already. It's nothing new. This is just a speck of the notion. All these people in the psychiatric wards saying, "Oh, I'm surveilled by aliens." Wait 2 decades. It's all I have to say. Wait 2 decades. Okay? All the things that you have been watching X-Files and thinking, this is interesting for sci-fi, okay? Wait 2 decades. And there's way more down that rabbit hole. And again, I say this as a person that is on the very periphery of the people who are witnessing this, because I've heard people witnessing things, but you know, it is, how shall I say it? We were not raised in society where we even could put these things on the table without being classified so and so. But the more documents declassified, we see that ESP training is an actual reality worldwide. And not only that, people did not succeed, not only because it's a sense, but because they were afraid of the church. And they were afraid of the implications if they are successful, and the church was against anybody doing remote viewing, not from within the church. Okay, they had a monopoly on your senses, literally, simply put. Like if you're using your senses outside the church, then you are satanic. Okay, you get the problem here. Yeah, and I'm not saying that there are no things to learn about channeling. Absolutely, there are. As a person who made a lot of experiments with channeling, I can say sometimes I got things that are completely dumbfound. Okay, sometimes I got interceptions to things. Sometimes I got bad advice. Okay, it is not like a pure Christ consciousness. Okay, I'm not a monk sitting on a mountain, but it's also not true that people cannot use their senses outside of the church, because this is just not in the advancement of humanity. So, that's it for today.